Clara Vance had developed feelings for the disabled young man I was sponsoring. I discovered this when I saw the text messages she had sent to her friend. "Leo's life is just too perfect," she had written. "He's so flawless, he's almost like a mannequin. I'm starting to find it all incredibly boring." In the moment I read those words, it felt like my entire world had shattered into a million pieces. I immediately blocked her number, her social media, everything, and made arrangements to move abroad. 5 years passed. I had just returned home when, during a media interview, a reporter posed a question. "We've heard that the Vance family heiress, Clara Vance, is about to get engaged. Have you heard anything about this?" I simply shook my head. "I think the name sounds familiar, but we aren't close. Regardless, I wish her all the best." That very night, after the news of my interview spread, Clara boarded a plane and flew directly from London to New York. I had come back to the United States to participate in a classical dance competition. The prestigious international event, held only once every 3 years, was hosting its final rounds in New York City. The second I stepped off the plane, I was engulfed by a swarm of media. My agent tried frantically to create a path for me through the chaos. Then, a reporter from some tabloid publication shoved a microphone directly in my face and asked a truly bizarre question. "Mr. Jensen, we hear the Vance family heiress, Clara Vance, is getting engaged. Do you have any comment on this news?" "Clara Vance?" I tilted my head, searching my memory. The name had a faint ring of familiarity to it, perhaps an old acquaintance. I managed a professional smile and offered a polite, standard reply. "I believe I know the name, but we're not particularly close. In any case, I wish her all the best with her upcoming marriage." A few of the other reporters let out audible gasps. "Not close, but the rumor all over town is that the two of you used to be a couple." Oh, that's right. Now it was coming back to me. She was my fiancée once. "We really aren't close," I emphasized again, my tone firm but polite. "It's been a very long time. I honestly don't even remember her." I wasn't exaggerating. Clara and I had been childhood sweethearts. We had practically grown up side by side. In elementary school, she would drag any boys who bullied me out to the playground to teach them a lesson. I remember she once took a series of connecting flights, traveling overnight from overseas, just to be there for my very first dance competition. And when I told her I didn't like how she risked her life with her reckless hobbies, she gave up dangerous pastimes like race car driving without a second thought. Everyone who knew us said she was completely head over heels for me, that she had eyes for no one else. I had believed we would be together forever. Getting engaged, then married, it all seemed like the natural, inevitable course of our lives. But just before our college graduation, I happened to see a chat log between her and a friend on her phone. She had typed, "I don't think I have feelings for Leo anymore." Her friend responded with a surprised emoji. "Well, it's about time. You've known each other for over 20 years and been dating for 5. Anyone would get tired of that, right?" A moment later, Clara replied, "Leo's too perfect. So perfect, he's like a mannequin. His life has had 0 challenges. Not like Daniel, who's deaf but still fought his way into college. With Daniel, I feel that passion for life again. Daniel was a student I was sponsoring. He came from an impoverished family, was born deaf, and was unable to speak. I had bought him hearing aids, taken him to specialists, and covered his tuition for all 4 years of college. Worried that he would feel isolated, I even introduced him to my own circle of friends. The moment I read those text messages, I felt my world collapse around me. I had invested more than a decade of my youth loving one person with everything I had, and this was how it concluded. I locked myself in my bedroom and didn't emerge for over a week. It wasn't until my best friend Ben found me that I finally left the room. By that point, the trauma had been so severe that I had lost the ability to speak. He dragged me to see a therapist. The doctor's conclusion was that I was experiencing extreme negative emotional issues that required external intervention, or they could escalate into a more severe psychological illness. However, the treatment also came with certain side effects. After that, I went abroad. And slowly I began to forget the feelings I once had for Clara. All the things we had experienced together, all of those memories, they gradually faded into abstract symbols, into meaningless code. They no longer held any emotional weight for me. Unless I deliberately forced myself to remember, I couldn't even recall that I had once known a person named Clara Vance. My agent has been with me since my time studying abroad. She expertly shooed away the gossip-hungry reporters and pulled me toward the waiting car. "Leo," she said, glancing at me with a look of concern as she drove. "Are you okay? Don't let what those tabloid reporters said get to you." I shook my head. "I won't. I don't care what they say." It was the truth. After a long-term course of medication, my emotional range seemed to have been flattened. I no longer experienced joy, pain, or sadness over things with any real intensity. I just watched events unfold from a cool, detached perspective. My agent sighed. "Well, it's good that you can think that way. I just wonder what those trashy papers are going to write." As expected, the very next day, the hashtag #LeoClaraNotClose was trending online. Most of the comments suggested that I, the sole heir to a massive media conglomerate, was just being stubborn and pretending not to care. How could he not remember his childhood sweetheart and fiancée? He definitely got dumped and is just trying to save face. It must be hard seeing your ex get married. I scrolled through the comments with a sense of indifference. Then, my eyes caught one in particular. "Heard Clara flew back from London on a private jet last night." It was a single sentence, buried deep in a thread with hardly any replies. I clicked on it. There was a photo attached. A woman in a black trench coat was walking briskly away from a private airfield. So that was Clara. They had told me that I once peeled off a layer of my own skin for this person, that I had nearly lost my life over her. Was that really true? I looked down at my arms, at the crisscrossing network of scars, some deep and others faded. I could hardly believe I was ever capable of such intense, overwhelming emotions. I yawned, put my phone down on the nightstand, and was about to go lie down on the large bed in my bedroom. But then, the doorbell suddenly rang. It was just past 6 o'clock in the morning. Annoyed, I pulled the door open. A woman was standing outside. She was tall, with a weary and travel-worn look on her face, and she was wearing a long black trench coat. It was the woman from the photograph. Clara. My mouth opened, and I said, a bit hesitantly, "Miss Vance?" But I didn't move from the doorway to let her in. Clara stared at me, her brow furrowed in confusion. "Leo, I've been looking for you for 5 years," she said, speaking each word with deliberate weight. Her voice was so hoarse it sounded as though she was forcing the sound from her throat. She didn't seem to be able to get any more words out after that single sentence. "Oh," I said, nodding. "So is it something urgent?" If it wasn't urgent, why would she spend all that time searching for me? The corner of her mouth twitched, as if she had just heard something utterly bizarre. 5 years ago, we were about to get married. Then you just vanished without a word, disappeared into thin air. Leo, and now you're asking me what I want? Don't you think that's hilarious?" Her tone was laced with a palpable anger. She seemed to be in complete disbelief that I could say such a thing. But I thought this Clara person was the one being hilarious. Are we that close? I thought to myself. 5 years ago, I went to the UK to study dance. I don't feel I owe an explanation of my life plans to anyone other than my immediate family. And now, here she was, aggressively demanding to know why I had left. On what grounds? Why should I have to tell her? Of course, I didn't say any of this out loud. Ever since I was diagnosed with an emotional cognitive disorder, my therapist has constantly reminded me to be mindful of social etiquette and politeness. I might not think anything of the words I say, but the sensitive, average person on the receiving end might form a strange or negative impression of me. Cold, abrupt, unfeeling. Thinking of this, I composed myself and put on a standard, neutral smile. I recited a line that felt like it was straight out of an etiquette textbook, word for word. Right, sorry for any trouble back then. So, is there anything I can help you with now? I thought my reply was flawless, completely unobjectionable, but Clara seemed completely unable to accept it. Her expression shifted in an instant. She stared at me, her jaw clenched tight. "Leo," she demanded sharply, "can you stop pretending? Stop acting like you don't know me, like you're just coldly pushing me away." Clara looked utterly exasperated. But I just found the situation strange. I hate dealing with these kinds of complicated personal relationships, and I hate trying to guess what other people are thinking. Just then, the phone in my bedroom began to ring, saved by the bell. I quickly went inside to answer it. It was Chloe Lynn. She's my partner for the pas de deux in this competition. My dance teacher in London, a master at the very top of the dance world, is also Chloe's uncle. He once said of the two of us, "When it comes to raw talent, Leo has a slight edge. But Leo, you're missing something. You know that, right? You have the technique, but there's no feeling." Chloe had a family matter to attend to, so she didn't fly back with me. She had just landed in New York. "Hey, Leo, I'm back in the States." Chloe's voice was always full of infectious energy. She practically shouted into the phone, "Do you know what today is?" "Your birthday," I said. "You're amazing. Did you get me a present?" I did. It's a surprise?" Because my sensitivity to the outside world is so low, I pay extra attention to social customs. I make sure to note things like birthdays and anniversaries in my phone's calendar. It saves me from being called careless by others. Hearing Chloe's happy reaction on the phone, I figured I must have said the right thing this time. After hanging up, I remembered there was still someone standing at my door. Should I politely show her out if there was nothing else? Just as I was trying to figure out how to phrase it, Clara spoke first. "Leo, you used to say you had a bad memory, and that besides your family and me, you'd never bother to remember anyone else's birthday. I guess I really do have a bad memory. To think I used to say things like that." "So," she paused, "is there really nothing else you want to say to me?" I racked my brain. Finally, I came up with something that couldn't possibly offend anyone. "Oh, right. Congratulations on your engagement." After hearing that, Clara didn't say another word. Her face turned pale, and a coldness came over her features. She turned and left without looking back. I hope she doesn't come back. After all, a good ex should be like they're dead. I hope she has the decency to be a dead person. That evening, I went to the address Chloe had given me at the agreed-upon time. It was a small, niche bar. She grew up in London and had almost no friends in the States, so I was the only one there to celebrate her birthday. When she saw me, Chloe shot up from her seat and waved enthusiastically. "Leo!" She was a typical dancer, graceful and striking even in a crowded room. I smiled. "Happy birthday, my dear partner." I took a gift out of my bag and handed it to her. A pair of cufflinks. I'd seen them on a fashion website a few days prior and bought them on a whim. Chloe seemed to genuinely love the gift. She looked at them from every angle, excitedly showing them off. "Wow, Leo, you have great taste." I nodded, not saying much. We chatted for a bit, then Chloe suddenly looked up and studied my face. "Leo, you don't seem to be in very high spirits today, do you?" To be honest, I'm sometimes slow to recognize my own internal emotions. But I knew one thing for sure. I hadn't slept well that morning. My ex-fiancée, that Clara woman, had shown up at my door at 6 a.m. A day of sleep deprivation had left me feeling mentally exhausted. It probably produced a natural sense of fatigue. Thinking of Clara, I casually opened X again. I saw that after leaving my apartment, she had released a statement that afternoon through the Vance Group's official account. It declared that she was not engaged. The young man she was photographed eating with was actually her aunt's fiancé. I have to say, Clara certainly has her share of devoted fans. After the statement was released, tons of people commented below it. "I knew she wouldn't get engaged just like that. He's a deaf-mute, for God's sake. Why would a woman like Clara ever fall for him? Her aunt, heh, as long as it's her aunt, I'm relieved." Clara's aunt. I had a vague impression of her. I met her a few times back when we were discussing the engagement with the Vance family. At the time, she was a senior executive at the family's company. She was in her 40s, divorced 3 times, overweight, and dripping with jewelry. In short, the perfect caricature of a flashy, rich divorcee. I can't believe she's getting married again at her age, and to someone so young. I clicked on a photo in the comments. Clara and the young man were sitting across from each other in a high-end restaurant. The young man was smiling, and another woman sitting next to him had a visible baby bump. I looked at his face. Old memories slowly surfaced. It was him, the disabled boy I had sponsored. I'd been with my parents on a charity trip doing research in a poor, rural area. We stayed at a local school for a day. As we were leaving, he followed us and asked, "I don't want to be stuck here my whole life. Could you give me a chance to get out?" He said he would study hard and make something of himself. I thought he was so brave back then. I never expected that I was the naive one. It turns out his idea of making something of himself was marrying into the Vance family by wedding Clara's aunt, a woman who had no skills other than inheriting stock and collecting dividends. If I had known, I think I would have sponsored someone else. Chloe saw me staring at my phone in a daze and leaned over. "Leo, are you still upset about losing in the semifinals?" "Huh?" I snapped back to reality. She was talking about the second round of the World Classical Dance Competition, which had been held in the UK. The dancers who made it to the semifinals were all accomplished young artists in the field. Chloe and I were partners and made it to the finals, but we only placed 3rd. The judge's feedback was the same as her uncle's. The male dancer's movements are flawless, but in terms of emotion, something seems to be missing. In the part where his partner gets injured, you should be in agony, panicked, terrified. Where is that emotional impact? I don't see it. Was I holding you back? In a partnered competition, if one person does well and the other does poorly, the one who did poorly should feel guilty. That's social etiquette. I sighed, trying my best to perform this feeling of guilt and self-blame. I don't know if my emotional acting had improved, but Chloe shot up and waved her hands frantically. No, Leo, don't think that. That's not what I meant at all." She stood up too quickly. Someone had spilled a drink on the floor. A bottle from the bar toppled over and shattered against her leg. Broken glass cut a nasty gash in her skin, and blood immediately started to gush out. For a dancer, the legs are absolutely the most important part of the body. If your legs are ruined, your entire career is over. For the first time in years, a genuine, unbidden emotion pierced through the fog. It wasn't practiced or intellectualized. It was a raw spike of alarm. "Chloe, you need to go to the hospital," I stammered, my lips trembling. I rushed Chloe to the nearest city hospital. On the way there, she never shut up. "Leo, I've never seen you so worked up. You're worried sick about me, aren't you?" Her chatter finally faded from my ears when the doctor took her into the examination room. The world was quiet again. I sat on a bench outside, replaying the emotion that had just risen in my chest. It felt like a very, very long time since I had been genuinely worried about someone. Sadness, anxiety, joy, unease. Years ago, those feelings used to be a part of me. What happened back then? I think someone hurt me. I had a major breakdown and it burned out all my emotions. The bench I was sitting on happened to be right across from the elevator. And what a coincidence. At that moment, the elevator dinged and the doors opened right in front of me. Clara and the boy I used to sponsor stepped out together. Oh, right, I remember now. His name is Daniel. I subconsciously glanced at the floor indicator. The elevator had come down from the 8th floor. The 8th floor. Obstetrics and gynecology. Isn't this kid her aunt's fiancé? What kind of rich family drama is this? I couldn't figure it out, and I couldn't be bothered to think about it. When Clara saw me, her expression changed. She quickened her pace, walking ahead and leaving Daniel behind. It wasn't until Daniel coughed a couple of times, pointed to his stomach, and quietly said her name that she turned back. She spoke while making hand gestures. You should be able to get back on your own, right? Her voice was cold. If you need anything in the future, call my aunt. If she doesn't answer, call her assistant. Clara walked straight toward me. What's wrong with you? Why are you at the hospital? She demanded as soon as she reached me. Though I didn't feel the need to explain anything to her, I still shook my head. A friend got hurt. I brought her here. She seemed to let out a breath of relief, then sat in the empty spot next to me and said softly, "As long as you're okay." Then again, this hospital was also where I received my psychological treatment back in the States. I still keep in touch with my therapist here. He monitors my condition and provides guidance on my medication. After Clara sat down, we fell into a mutual silence for a while. I thought she could finally be quiet, like a dead person. But she spoke again, and what she said made no sense. Leo, don't get the wrong idea. There's nothing between him and me. She looked at me anxiously, her voice tinged with nervousness. I haven't been in contact with Daniel at all for the past 5 years. What does that have to do with me? Why is she explaining this to me? I gave a perfunctory, "Oh." She continued as if talking to herself. It was only this last month. My aunt is on a business trip abroad, and this is her first child. My grandfather is making a huge deal out of it. He heard that I knew Daniel and insisted I help out when I had time. I stared at the ceiling. Oh. She looked down, as if gathering her courage, and said carefully, I heard you saw that conversation on my phone back then. Uh-huh. No matter what Clara said to me, I just replied with a string of ohs and uh-huhs. Finally, she seemed to snap. She shot her head up, staring at me without blinking, her eyes welling up. Leo, besides oh and uh-huh, is there anything else you can say? Huh? Do you have to act so cold on purpose? She grabbed my wrist, her voice trembling. You used to get mad. You'd get jealous when I talked to other guys. When I forgot something I promised you, you'd get angry and not talk to me all day. The time I flew overnight from the UK to see your dance competition. The way you ran off the stage to me after winning your award. I'll never forget that. She kept digging up things from the past, as if doing so would prove how good we used to be, or even how much in love we were. She said, Leo, you never used to look at me like this. But I just felt bored. Bored and tired. I said, oh, really? Clara slumped onto the chair, looking as if she had lost all her strength. I really wasn't doing it on purpose, but I didn't care about her personal life at all and had no interest in hearing about it. Other than mm-hmm and oh, I couldn't think of anything else to say. Women. What strange creatures. I'll never understand them. Unfortunately, this hospital wasn't my home. Otherwise, I would have already politely and tactfully shown this ex-fiancé the door. Just as I was debating whether to find an excuse to slip away for a bit, I ran into my old therapist from back when I lived here. Leo? He was passing by in the hallway, saw me, and stopped. He smiled. I heard a few days ago you were back in the country. I didn't expect to see you so soon. How has your recovery been? Have you had any more emotional issues? Before I could even speak, Clara, sitting next to me, shot up, her reaction even bigger than mine. Recovery? Emotional issues? Leo? What's wrong with him? You're Clara Vance? The doctor frowned, looking her up and down. During my early treatment, I had shown him a photo of us. I think it would be better for the stability of your current condition if you two talked things out, the doctor said to me after a moment of thought. After all, she was the trigger for your initial episode. Then he turned to Clara. You don't know, do you? About Leo's emotional cognitive disorder. This whole thing started because of you. I really didn't care whether Clara knew about my condition or not. Her entire existence was irrelevant to me. But after hearing the doctor's full explanation, her composure completely shattered. She slowly sank to the ground. Like a lost, lonely bird, she leaned against my leg. She looked pathetic and desolate. Leo, she murmured, reaching out, trying to take my thumb in her hand. But I pulled away. Clara froze, her head sinking even lower. I was so wrong. I was just being stubborn, saying things I didn't mean. Sometimes I don't even know what I'm saying. Leo, can you forgive me? She asked the last question so carefully, but she never dared to look up at me. In the years I was abroad, I rarely thought about Clara. The happy, sweet times we had, and the pain she caused me, it had all gradually faded away. So there was nothing to forgive or not forgive. After all, when it came to her, there was no deep mark left on my heart. Oh, I said. She immediately looked up, her eyes lighting up. Really? Leo, you can forgive me? Can we have a chance to start over? Ugh. I pursed my lips. No, Miss Vance, we're not close. Could you please not talk to me in that tone? Not close. Clara rolled those two words around on her tongue. Eventually she left. She looked utterly dejected. Her back stooped, nothing like the vibrant, powerful business queen from the magazine photos. I checked my watch. It had been almost an hour since Chloe went into the exam room. I leaned against the wall with my eyes closed and rested for another few minutes. The door behind me finally opened. A nurse came out, helping the poor girl. Glass shards got into her calf. It took a while to clean, disinfect, and remove all the debris. I took Chloe from the nurse, letting her lean on my arm. Will this affect her movement or dancing? I asked quickly. It shouldn't. No damage to the muscles or bones, but she should rest for a few days to avoid infection. The finals were in 2 weeks. There was enough time. Chloe must have been truly exhausted by her birthday ordeal. On the drive back to her apartment, she slumped in the passenger seat and quickly fell asleep. Her leg was wrapped in a thick bandage. It reminded me of a scene from our final dance piece. A princess in peril, pursued by enemies, is struck in the chest by an arrow from afar. She collapses on the edge of a cliff. My character, the knight, kneels beside her, panicked and grieving. I could never get that final scene right. The movements were perfect, but something was always missing. Because of my emotional issues, I couldn't advance further in my dance career. A few years ago, I even thought about quitting the stage, retiring early to become a teacher. Back then, Chloe was by my side. She constantly encouraged me. Leo, don't be so pessimistic. Let's just try one more time. You're so talented. Are you really going to let this defeat you? Joy, anger, sorrow, love? People aren't set in stone. I know you'll be able to feel them again, right? Chloe rested her leg at home for 3 days. Then she showed up at my house, pounding on the door. Leo, no slacking. We have a competition to win. I had to hand it to her. At least she was better than Clara. She didn't show up at 6 in the morning to disturb the peace. I opened the door and frowned at her. Are you sure your leg is okay? It's just a flesh wound. A little scar cream and it'll be fine. No problem at all. As if to prove her point, Chloe did a split leap right there. It made my brow twitch. Okay, stop it before my downstairs neighbors call in a noise complaint. Chloe and I were aiming for the gold medal in this international competition. During the day, we rehearsed in the dance studio. Over and over again, the movements became so familiar they were practically etched into my heart. At night, Chloe would pull out her recordings and analyze them with me. Look here, Leo. Your body language, even your eyes, your expression, the trembling of your fingers. All of it can express your feelings. I nodded, only half understanding. A moment later, she suddenly remembered something and jumped up. That's it. Like the other day when I got hurt at the bar. You were so worried. I think you could try to channel how you felt in that moment. It was like I was 18 again, studying for my final exams. Late into the night, I'd think over and over again. What exactly was I feeling then? Why was I so worried? So panicked? Why was I so thrown by someone else's situation? Right up until we were standing on the final stage, about to go on, Chloe looked at me and asked quietly, Leo, how are you feeling today? I didn't answer her. I felt calm in that moment, but I had a feeling that I was about to break through my own barrier. That competition was, I think, the best performance I've ever given. In that final scene where I could never get into character before, this time I felt like I had finally found the emotion. I fully immersed myself in the role. As I watched the woman I loved die on the battlefield, I used my dance to express the grief, the sorrow, the loneliness, and the helplessness of that moment. After completing the final move, I knelt on the stage, forming the final tableau with Chloe. The results were announced that same day. Chloe and I won the gold medal. We were the highest-scoring pair among all the finalists. Before I could even react, Chloe rushed over and hugged me tightly. Leo, we did it! My dream, she said. Her smile always a little goofy. My dream finally came true today. In that moment, I felt my heart pound in my chest, fierce and true. It was a feeling I hadn't had in a long time. Because this was the first time an international classical dance competition was held in the States, there were an unusual number of reporters present. After the award ceremony, Chloe and I were surrounded by microphones and cameras. Most of the questions were about our careers, training schedules, choreography, our mentor's style, and so on. Suddenly, a microphone was thrust forward. The question was pure gossip. We hear that you two are a couple? For a moment, the atmosphere went silent. Chloe and I glanced at each other. The other reporters were rubbing their hands together, their faces eager for a juicy story. Ugh. I scratched my head, thinking. The media's misunderstanding probably came from the judge's comment after our performance. As a professional dance critic, this is the most memorable interpretation of a piece I have seen in recent years. The execution was flawless, impeccable. Especially in the final scene, the male dancer's emotional expression was so restrained, yet profound. The judge smiled. You two aren't a real couple, are you? And just like that, the rumor started. I opened my mouth, about to explain. Suddenly, a reporter said, Hey, isn't that the Vance heiress, Clara Vance? Many people turned to look in that direction. It was her. She even had 2 assistants with her. She must have a good relationship with the media because they automatically cleared a path for her as she walked over. Congratulations, Leo. Your dream finally came true. She stood in front of me and handed me a bouquet of red roses. I hadn't seen her in a few days, and she didn't look well. She was wearing a gray pantsuit, her posture still straight, but her cheeks looked thinner, and there were faint, dark circles under her eyes. I hadn't expected to see her here, but it was a public place, and I couldn't exactly kick her out, so I took the roses. The The reporters next to us immediately pounced as if they'd found a new story. "Miss Vance, you and Mr. Jensen must have been family friends for years, right? Even with Mr. Jensen being abroad for so long, you two still seem to be on great terms." Clara stared at me without blinking. I couldn't tell if she was answering the reporter or talking to me. "Yes. For all these years I've been looking for him. Leo, I was wrong before. I apologize." Clara's intense gaze made me feel uncomfortable. I looked down. Tucked inside the roses she'd given me was a small box. I pulled it out absent-mindedly. It was black velvet, exquisite and beautiful. Without thinking much of it, I opened it. Inside lay a watch of extraordinary design. The crowd seemed to fall silent for a second, then let out a collective gasp of astonishment. "Oh my God, am I about to witness a proposal?" a cameraman shouted out. I calmly analyzed the situation. Clara and I had broken up a long time ago. Her giving me a watch was highly problematic. I pinched the box closed and held it out to her. "You dropped this. Here." "I didn't drop it." Clara cut me off urgently. Her breath hitched, as if she was both weighing her words and gathering a great deal of courage. Finally she spoke. Her voice was tentative and careful. "Leo, we used to have a marriage pact. I want to fix my mistake." Clara's solemn tone and expression made it sound like a proposal. But strangely, I didn't feel a shred of romance, just annoyance. I took 2 steps forward, grabbed Clara's wrist and shoved the watch box back into her hand. "Here, take it back. I don't want it. We're not even close. Giving me a watch is completely inappropriate." The camera flashes were relentless. The crowd of reporters, who had been dead silent, now looked like they had just witnessed the show of a lifetime and couldn't hold back any longer. They were all on their tiptoes, holding up microphones. "Whoa, was that a proposal?" This is like watching a train wreck in slow motion. So in that last interview when Mr. Jensen said they weren't close, he really meant it? But Miss Vance's expression doesn't look like it. This is looking more and more like a one-sided pursuit. Am I allowed to say that? The chatter grew louder, but Clara didn't seem to care. She looked down, staring intently at the watch box in her hand. I think if the Emmy from 5 years ago had been proposed to by the person I loved in front of everyone, I would have been happy. But now, everything seemed to be reversed. Her fingers trembled, looking stark and lonely under the bright lights of the auditorium, and I no longer had any inclination to comfort her. Maybe because Clara looked so pathetic, the reporters finally stopped hounding her. Someone picked up the thread of the conversation. "Oh, right. Where were we before Miss Vance arrived?" I think we were talking about Leo Jensen's relationship with his partner, Chloe Lynn." Perhaps sensing that this topic would be another blow to Clara, the reporters' voices grew quieter. But, of course, there was always one who wasn't afraid to stir the pot. He stuck a microphone in front of Chloe. While Clara and I were having our exchange, she had been silent, just watching me. Now that her name was finally mentioned, she curled her lips into that cheerful grin again. Oh no, I had a bad feeling. Who knows what kind of trouble this girl was about to cause? Sure enough. "Ha! How did you guys know I was pursuing Leo? I haven't succeeded yet, mind you. But I have proximity on my side. That's an advantage, right?" That night, social media exploded. The top trending topics were all about the love triangle between me, Chloe, and Clara. I suddenly realized I didn't even know how Clara left that day. All I remember is that when I heard Chloe's bizarre announcement, my face instantly turned red. I snatched the microphone from her hand. "Can you please not make things up?" I just felt flustered, clumsy. Someone laughed. I thought nothing could make this guy flinch, not even if the sky was falling. What's wrong with me? I actually think this is kind of sweet. After the interview, Chloe and I were dragged to a celebration party by some colleagues from a dance academy. I don't like to drink, so I hid in a corner and scrolled through some posts, which only made me feel more bored. Suddenly, I received a text from my dad. "Leo, what's going on with you and Clara?" I scratched my nose. Even an old-timer like him was surfing the web now. Unexpectedly, he wasn't talking about Clara's watch proposal at the award ceremony. He sent me a few pictures. They were photos of several contracts. They were for some of the Vance Group's major projects this year, apparently with profits in the tens of millions. Then came a series of long voice messages. Clara said she wants to transfer these projects to me. She said not to worry, and she doesn't want you to feel burdened. She knows what she did to you was wrong, and she's not asking for your forgiveness. This money? I know my dad. He always says only a fool doesn't take a free lunch. I didn't really care. I typed 2 words. Up to you. My dad sent a winking emoji. I'll transfer all the profits to your account, my dear son. Don't think you're taking advantage of her. She owes you this. You suffered so much because of your illness back then. Shouldn't she compensate you? This tiny amount for emotional damages is letting her off easy. After talking with my dad, I put my phone down. For some reason, I had a feeling that I would never have anything to do with Clara again. She was going to completely and utterly fade out of my life. I let out a long sigh and walked out of the private room. The night outside was beautiful. A gentle breeze blew, carrying the low hum of cicadas. I sat down on the edge of a flower bed. A begonia branch reached out and rested on my shoulder. It had been a long time since I'd felt such a pleasant, comfortable atmosphere. But then someone made a phone call behind me, shattering the peace. It was Chloe. She was talking to her uncle, and the phone was on speaker. My mentor's voice was as loud as Chloe's. "Kid, when are you going to win Leo over? I don't want him to call me Maestro anymore. I want to hear him call me Uncle." Oh, God. I never knew that stoic master of the dance world could say something like that. "I'm afraid if I'm too aggressive, I'll scare him off. It's all your fault, you know. You're always so gloomy, never helping your niece out." After saying that, Chloe turned around. She saw me and froze on the spot. The atmosphere turned cold. Only her mentor on the other end of the line, oblivious to what was happening, was still shouting, "Why aren't you talking? Bad signal? Hey kid, who did you run into? Hello? Hello?" I took the phone from Chloe's hand and answered directly. "Uncle, hi. It's me. I haven't been able to sleep for 3 nights in a row." The doctor prescribed me sleeping pills. Sometimes, after taking the medicine, I'll drift into a hazy sleep and always dream of Leo. I dream of how things used to be. We had just gotten engaged. Everything still seemed perfect. He would leap off the stage and run toward me from a distance. "Clara! Clara!" His voice was always so beautiful. I couldn't help but pull him into my arms. And that's when the dream always abruptly ends. I open my eyes, reaching out in a panic, my heart pounding. But the bedroom is pitch black, there's nothing. Just me, all alone, pathetic, like a queen who has lost her entire kingdom. I went to see a doctor. The diagnosis was not surprising. I had developed psychological problems. I couldn't sleep and would have frequent hallucinations. I started to fear crowded places. Sometimes, during a meeting with senior executives, I would suddenly see Leo push the door open and walk in. He'd be carrying his dance bag, his tone the same as it always was. He'd frown and complain, "Clara, we had plans to go out. Why are you late again?" I'd quickly say, "It's all my fault. I'll buy you a gift. Will you forgive me?" The executives, sitting rigidly in their chairs, would look at me like they'd seen a ghost. Their eyes would be wide, but they wouldn't dare make a sound. Oh, they can't see Leo. I'm the only crazy one. Actually, 5 years ago, after Leo went abroad, I went through a period of being very unwell. At that time, I couldn't find him no matter where I looked. WhatsApp, even the video apps. He had blocked me on every communication tool. He left no room at all. I was going insane. I went to the Jensen family's villa. His parents wouldn't see me, so I just waited outside. I went every day, even in the wind and rain. Some of my friends asked if I had been possessed. Finally, Leo's father agreed to see me. "Don't come here anymore. Leo has nothing to do with you." It was the first time I had ever seen his father look at me with such a cold, distant expression, his voice laced with anger. I lowered my head. "At least, can you tell me where he is?" "Where?" his father sneered. "He went to the UK for his studies. You can go look for him there, see?" I really did go to the UK. London, Manchester, Birmingham. I went to almost every university with a dance program. But he wasn't there. Leo's name wasn't on any of the admission lists. I walked down a boulevard in London, people rushing past me. No one would stop for me. And just like that, I had lost the boy whose world once revolved around me. After I came back from the UK, Daniel found me. He gestured with his hands. "Clara, you have to pull yourself together. I'll be here for you. You still have so much work to do. Don't forget our goal of making the company bigger and stronger." Strange. Before, seeing Daniel's vibrant energy would have made me happy. Now I just felt annoyed. "I can't even find Leo. How can you have so many plans?" I brushed his hand away. Daniel froze. His lips moved as if he were mouthing my name. I said, "Don't come looking for me anymore. Don't you know how misleading you were back then?" Daniel really did stop showing up. Later I heard he got together with my third aunt. My friends who heard the news were all shocked. "How could that happen? Your aunt, isn't that robbing the cradle? Didn't little Daniel say he wanted to make a name for himself with his own 2 hands? How did he end up relying on a woman after all?" Only I had no reaction. It was as if I suddenly realized something. In essence, he had always been this way. He had never changed. He had immense ambition but lacked the ability to support his own desires, just like when he begged Leo to help him get out of that rural town. This time he had just found someone else to depend on. On a whim, I went to Leo's dance competition. I had brought a watch with me. I had bought it 5 years ago. Watching him and Chloe dance in perfect sync, I inexplicably walked into the press conference. I handed him the flowers and the watch. God only knows how nervous I was at that moment. The watch box had been in my pocket, and I had been rubbing it over and over. I imagined his expression when he saw the watch. Would he be surprised? Happy? Or even shocked? But there was nothing. Leo was just cold. He said, "No, Clara, we're not close." And just like that, he left me. He and Chloe were laughing and joking, and he never looked at me again. A few years later, I went to the UK on a business trip. By then, Leo had become a master in the world of classical dance. The moment he stepped onto the stage, he radiated light. I sat in the audience and quietly watched one of his performances. He didn't notice me. The moment I saw him perform, on stage, my chest felt like it was overflowing. I had finally seen him again, even if his eyes would never hold me again. But just to be able to see him from afar, just one more time, I felt like I had crossed mountains and seas. I was content.